Since Cedar and the kids are not home, it's a perfect time to get as much work done as I possibly can. I have the excavator for about a day and a half. I have to have it back by a certain time because it is a rental and somebody else is waiting for it after I'm done. So my goal is to get everything dug out for the retaining wall, then run the new water line for the yard hydrant. So we have the new yard hydrant next to the chicken coop and the little goat barn. When I got rid of my Komatsu PC55 excavator, the plan was to immediately go and pick up another bigger, better excavator. That has been over 6 months ago, and as I'm sure you're aware, the price of everything has gone crazy, including heavy equipment, and the Caterpillar excavator that I intended on buying sold before I could get there, and I've been looking for a new one ever since. This is a little rental excavator that I've used a number of times up here at our property. The very first time I used this excavator was over 5 years ago. It's good for small jobs. You'll see here shortly that because of its size and its weight, I had some issues with it. But because I'm still on the hunt for a new excavator, it was a friendly reminder that I need a decent sized excavator around here. This excavator is under 10,000 pounds, and it's not enough. I'm building a retaining wall, which will also double as the back wall in the chicken coop. I've thought about the different ways that I could build this retaining wall, and the conclusion that I've come to is railroad ties. I was going to dig footings, set forms, and pour a concrete wall like I did originally with the shop. And the more I considered this and thought about it, I realized it was unnecessary. For what I'm trying to do, the railroad ties are perfect. There is always a use for railroad ties around our place, but I also need to be careful where I put them. These railroad ties are probably 10 or 15 years old, but they're still saturated in preservatives like creosote, so they last a very long time. But they can also be a little bit dangerous as far as contaminants are concerned. Using them as the back wall in the chicken coop shouldn't be a problem. But I will likely end up covering them in a 1x12 just so they're not exposed in the chicken coop. Over 5 years ago, when we originally dug out the foundation for this shop, which originally was going to be the house, when it was being excavated, there was a couple of places where both the backhoe and the excavator that we used to dig out the foundation struggled to dig through portions of the ground back behind the shop. There seemed to be a combination of very, very hard clay and volcanic ash. And when we were digging the footings on the back corner of the shop, we were just barely able to get the footings deep enough. That's part of the reason I don't want to dig down any deeper than I have to with this little excavator. So using the railroad ties should be perfect. All right, it is a touch on the chilly side this morning, and I would love to continue. Come here, Ruby. I would love to continue working on the retaining wall, but I have to get the excavator back. Good girl, stay right here. I have to get the excavator back by 6 o'clock this afternoon. So I'm gonna have to stop on the retaining wall and get the water line ran and do it in a timely fashion so I can get the excavator hauled back into town and taken back without... Here comes the goats that have been out wandering around all night. So I've got to get the water line done. The water line runs up the hill right there. So what I'm going to do is run up to the water tank, shut the water off, get that pipe exposed first, dig my trench, and work my way around to the new barn. If you've paid close attention over the last few years, during the warmer months, you may have noticed little bugs crawling around from time to time on the outside of the shop and on the outside of the house. Those bugs are called box elder bugs. This year, for whatever reason, we have had the worst year we've ever had with box elder bugs. Ruby. Let's go, Ruby. Let's go, hurry. Let's go, come on. Okay, water's off. There is no use for them. The chickens won't touch them, and there seems to be no other predator other than ladybugs. And this year we have more ladybugs than we have ever had. The box elder bugs really don't do anything other than it's just kind of gross to see thousands of bugs moving around on the side of the house. I believe that is volcanic ash. I keep digging it up. It's hard as nails. They do make a spray that can be used, but we just put up with them, knowing that once it cools off, they all go away. In my observation, the amount of bugs that we have seems to correlate with the drought. The drier it's been, the more bugs we have. And it seems to be that every few years we just have a bad season with these bugs. Okay, I found the pipe. It's way deeper than I thought it was, which isn't a bad thing other than the fact that I've got to make enough room around that when I cut the pipe, the hole doesn't fill up with water. I shut the water tank off. I've got the hose draining down low, trying to get as much water out of it as I can, but I need to dig around it very, very carefully so I don't damage it, make my connection, then I'm going to take off and dig my trench with the excavator. As I was working on the excavator, I realized that the shallow well pump was still on. So as I was waiting for the water lines to drain, the solar panels were still sending power to the pump. So I ran down to the shallow well and turned it off. I had fairly minimal experience in excavators and backhoes up until we bought our land. Over that first year and a half or 2 years, I got a crash course in how to run a backhoe and an excavator. As a plumbing contractor, from time to time, I would rent a piece of equipment here and there, but I never spent a significant amount of time in the same machine to get comfortable enough to really benefit me. Now that I've literally spent over 600 hours in either an excavator or a backhoe over the last 5 years, I feel confident running the equipment, and I know what I want in an excavator. Somewhere between a 15 and 20,000 pound machine is what I've been looking for. And I'm hoping over winter I get something picked up. This little stretch behind the shop that I've been digging with this excavator has been a tremendous struggle for this machine. I spent about 3 hours scratching the top of the clay just to get down deep enough for the water line. This machine is not quite big and strong enough to scratch down through the clay, but I made it work, and once I get around the corner, it goes pretty fast again. Over the last few years, as I've driven on this section of dirt, and as it has naturally settled, it has now become very, very hard. The dark topsoil is very easy to dig through, but once you get down past that topsoil, the clay is very, very hard to dig through. I ran a good portion of the main water line using the backhoe that I had at the time. I didn't think that I went quite this deep, and it's not necessarily a bad thing until you need to tie into it. I typically try to get everything down at least 30 inches deep, but the main line right here is somewhere between 5 and 6 feet deep. I'm running a 3/4 inch poly water line over to where the yard hydrant will be. I've used the poly piping and the crimp fittings all over our property, and whenever I use a copper or a brass crimp ring or a fitting in the ground, I always wrap it with an electrical tape. This was all that the manufacturer suggested to prevent corrosion over the long term. This yard hydrant is what's called a 4-foot bury. I was looking for a 3-foot bury, but of course the supply house didn't have it, so this one's going to stick up out of the ground a little bit more than I would like, but it will still be fine. Okay, I've got every connection made. I'm gonna go turn the water on and check for leaks. Okay, I am up against it with the excavator. It was supposed to be back late tonight. They're gonna let me keep it till the morning, but I have to get the gravel in place around this yard hydrant before I can backfill, and it's supposed to be 28 for a low tonight, and that's low enough where it could potentially do some damage. So I gotta find a gear here and get this finished. Yard hydrants are designed for cold country. Once you turn the water off, the yard hydrant is designed to drain and get any potential water out of the pipe so it does not freeze. If you don't have gravel around the bottom of your yard hydrant, there's no place for the water to drain out, and the yard hydrant will potentially freeze and break. This is the 7th yard hydrant I've installed around our homestead. You can never have too many yard hydrants, but every yard hydrant that's installed is a potential leak. As they get used over time, they have to be adjusted or they can potentially leak. They are very easy to adjust. I worked late last night, got all of the trenches backfilled. It's not very pretty. I woke up early this morning, hauled the excavator down to return it. I had to have it there at 6:45. And as I was driving home, my buddy that runs the store shot me a text and said the person canceled. So I could have kept it, but I'm not ready for it. The more I've been thinking about this retaining wall, I'm going to make some changes to it. And the changes are going to require that I basically disassemble this and then put it back together, which is going to be a pain, but it should be a better decision in the long run. So the next video on Wednesday, I should hopefully have the retaining wall completely finished and also the post set. And then I'm going to bring the excavator in here and really groom the dirt work up and get it just really pretty. So once the weather does get bad and the rain and the snow set in, it doesn't turn into a giant mud hole. So anyway, this Wednesday's video, the retaining wall should be done.